Going on, people? It is January the 7th, 9:21 p.m., 2014, of course. Happy New Year's. Um, and I'm pretty bored, so I figured I'd just record something because I have nothing else to do with my time. I got the day off from work. I spent the first half of my day running around doing errands or whatever, and then I ended up watching Sharknado, which was interesting to say the least. That's another that's another video for another day. I will say though that's one of the best worst movies I've ever seen. And after I actually just watched an interview with I think he was the writer or director, but he actually gained a little bit of respect for him after saying that he wasn't actually intentionally going for a serious movie. I guess it made more sense. But either way, that movie was hilariously terrible. But like I said, that's another review for another day. Today I'm not even doing a review. Like I said, I'm bored, so I'm just gonna kind of ramble. Um, I wanted to talk about a conversation I had with a coworker like a week ago or so. Uh, we both were talking. We both like to write uh, and things like that. And we were just kind of talking about, I guess, just life situations in general. And we were talking about how um, people are afraid to fail or afraid to put themselves out there. And one of the things she said that kind of stuck with me from the convo was that she said rejection isn't a no, it's just a not yet, which I think in some cases is true. It seems like now I don't know what it is. Like people they don't embrace failure, which I know sounds weird, but it's almost like nowadays people expect like I don't know what like world that they live in, but we live in like this kind of instant society where it's just, you want everything fast. You got fast food, you got Netflix, you instantly stream movies, you go on YouTube, you instantly watch videos, and I guess people expect that to translate to like success in whatever creative field or whatever you might be trying to pursue, and life just it just doesn't work like that, and I have no idea where people get this mentality from about just being afraid to try something and fail at it. And I know like just saying it like that it sounds terrible, but literally if you think about it, we fail at things every day. Constantly you're failing at something. And it's cool. I think that's the side of failure that we never teach. It's always, oh, you failed, so that just means you lost. Well, that's true, you did lose, but if you don't lose, what are you ever gonna learn in life, period? You gotta fall and get beat up. You have to fail. It's pretty much what I'm trying to say. Failing is essential to life in a way. If you never really failed at anything, or you never failed, either you're some prodigy genius child, which I know a lot of us would like to think we are, but we aren't, or you're probably just not trying hard enough, or I would say you're probably not trying at all. Especially goes for like creative people in like creative fields. And I know every single last one of us has done this to where we have this idea, whether you be a writer, musician, or any type of like artistic, career or whatever, allows you to express yourself. A lot of us have, you know, at any given point, you got a million ideas in your head about, oh, I'm gonna make this, I'm gonna do that, and it's gonna be great, blah, 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 and you hold on to that idea forever, and that's all it ever becomes is just an idea, and you never actually get it down on paper or record it or film it or whatever it is that you're trying to do. Excuse me, tea break. But yeah, and the reason why, at least I think, most of the reason why we never attempt to do them is because we're afraid that we're gonna do it and we're gonna fail at it. and either nobody will like it or nobody will find out about it, and then all your your hopes and dreams just get kind of crushed. But in a way, it's kind of what's supposed to happen. Like no one, even anybody you can think of who's great at what they do now or were great at what they did, you can guarantee you none of them started off that great. They had to fail before they got to where they were. And it's like nowadays we just don't embrace that part of creativity or just that part of the life, process in general. You have to try and fail numerous times before you really start to figure things out. It's pretty much what life is. It's just a series of trial and error. No matter what you're pretty much in everything. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with failing, as long as you're learning from it. Now, if you're failing and you're just failing and you're not figuring out, what's wrong, then that is a problem that you probably should. That's when you really need to start doing some self evaluation, which is also a part of the process and a part of failing, which is also something else that a lot of people just don't, for whatever reason, like to do. We fail at something, whether it be creatively or relationship, and you try and like pin it always on somebody else or another person. Example, you're in the creative field. I don't know, you put out a song or you write a book and you put it out and it doesn't go well or as well as you think. And, people's always first response is, oh, well, people just don't get me. I'm too creative, blah, 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 blah. And that might be true for like a small percentage of people, but for the most part, it's probably something that you're just doing wrong. Or maybe your approach is off a little bit. Just something you probably could work on. Same with relationships. You get into an endless amount of them, or maybe you can't get into one, and that's your problem. And we always like to think that it's the other person, and like I said, that could be true, but that's only a small part of the problem. A lot of it could be just, there's something you're doing wrong that you're not seeing or you're just not picking up on. And you got to focus on what you can control. So, you recognize your failures or your weak spots, and you build on them and you get better from there. And eventually, it'll all work out. But if you don't even embrace the idea of failure or possibly failing at something, you'll never even hit that point. You'll just end up being stagnant for a life, which is never a good thing. And that's what I said, man. You gotta embrace failing. As horrible as that sounds, it's just it's another part of life, just like happiness, just like everything else. And it's a good thing, especially when you learn and grow and you start to notice your failures, so you can pick up on your errors, early instead of realizing them before it's too late, and then you completely fail at something. You can start to pick up on these patterns a little earlier, and it makes life that much more easier to deal with. Especially, like I said, for my creative people out there, don't just keep your ideas as ideas. Get it down on paper, record it, film it, draw it, whatever it is you're trying to do, and it might bomb. People might laugh. It might be terrible. It might end up being the worst, thing you've ever put out. But at least now that you put it out and it bombed, now, hey, that doesn't work. I can't do that anymore. Or maybe I can do that, but I need to tweak it this way, that way, so on and so forth. And you just keep taking those different approaches until eventually you'll find your way through, you'll find a way to make it work. You basically fail your way to success. You fail, you retweak, you fail, you retweak until it works. I just think we're expecting some grand golden miracle to where I think everybody just wants to be that overnight story to where, oh, I tried it my first time, or I put out this one book, this one song, and then instantly, I became famous the next day, which, like I said, few cases to where that's true, But in reality, in the real world that we live in, that's probably not gonna happen to you. You'll probably put out your first book, first film, whatever, and even if it doesn't bomb, it just might not do as well as you hoped. Doesn't mean you should just quit at your craft just because you didn't become the next great big thing of whatever the field is you're in. You know, it's supposed to be hard and arduous. That's just the way life works. If it was all easy, what fun would it be if everything we did that first time we were just great at? You probably never learned anything. So, go out there, man, and get to failing. Go out and fail as hard as you possibly can, and trip and fall and bust your head open, and all that good stuff. And in the end, you'll get back up, you'll dust yourself off. You might fall again, you might bust your head open again, but eventually you'll get to it. But all in all, embrace the failures. They're gonna happen in life in general. So you might as well. The faster you can accept that you're gonna fail eventually, the faster you'll probably actually end up making it into whatever you're trying to get into. So that's my, I don't know, spiel slash rant slash random ramble for the day. I'm gonna finish my cup of green tea. Hopefully, if my internet cooperates with me, I'll upload this as soon as possible. But as I'm looking right now, my connection's actually cut off. So I'm not sure when I'll be able to upload this. But yeah, that's all I got. Like I said, when you're done listening to this, go out there and go fail at stuff, man. Go just go start failing, and at least that means you're trying. That's pretty much what I'm trying to say. You're failing at it, that means you're trying. Keep failing, eventually you'll get better. So, yeah, I'm gonna drink green tea, and hopefully my internet cooperates. Y'all go out there and get to failing, and hopefully that turns into your success story. Till next time, I will catch y'all later.